The place had been sealed for decades, a skeleton of laughter long gone, and yet tonight the gates of the abandoned theme park stood slightly ajar, as if daring someone to cross. The sign above, once brightly colored, now hung by a single rusted chain, swaying back and forth in the night air with a groan like a dying voice. Entering the park meant stepping into a graveyard of forgotten joy, and every surface whispered decay. Rides corroded with rust. Games still holding waterlogged teddy bears with faces eaten by mold and a smell of stagnant water and something much darker like iron and rot mixed into the soil. It was silent, except not truly silent, because in silence you begin to hear things that should not exist. Whispers beneath your breath, the shuffle of something, dragging its feet over gravel, faint children's laughter, cutting through the cold air for a second and then dissolving into static. At first, it feels almost nostalgic, as if the park is trying to seduce you into remembering what it once was. But the longer you walk, the more you feel that nostalgia sharpen into unease, because every painted smile on a carousel horse or a clown statue seems twisted, every crack in the cement like veins that pulse with something alive under the ground. You think about how places absorb emotion, how brick and wood and metal remember things, and in this place the memory is its the weight of all the vanished. All those who came for fun and never came home. That's the truth of the abandoned theme park. Forgotten rides don't forget you, they wait. The further you step, the heavier the air feels, and the rides begin to take on shapes that feel more alive than dead. The carousel horses are the first to make you stop, paint peeled into grotesque patterns. Teeth filed into points by weather and time, their glass eyes missing or replaced by blackened holes. One horse seems angled toward you in a way it shouldn't, its head lowered like a predator about to strike, and you swear that when you blink its posture changes slightly, as though caught in motion. Around the ride, mirrors once designed for funhouse laughter stand shattered, reflecting only jagged fragments of yourself, broken into versions that do not blink when you do, versions that seem to smile wider than your own face. The Ferris wheel, a monstrous skeletal crown above the park, looms in silence, but every few seconds a metal groan escapes from its joints, as though it resents its stillness, as though the wheel wants to turn again, dragging some invisible weight higher and higher into the sky. And then there's a sound, faint at first, but undeniable, a slow Krieg-like chains shifting, followed by what sounds like a sigh, drawn out and guttural. It comes from the roller coaster track ahead, twisted steel silhouetted against the moon. You pause, but the sound does not. Instead, it grows clearer, like something being dragged across the metal tracks, slow and heavy, moving closer even though nothing visible stirs. And then, cutting through everything else, you hear it, a child's laugh, not playful, not joyous, a laugh that seems to understand you're listening, one that carries a promise. Now that you've heard it, you can't unhear it. The laugh belongs to something that's not supposed to be here, but is, and you've already been noticed. As you walk deeper, the park begins to awaken in ways that defy logic. The ticket booths still stand, glass shattered, but behind the counter a shadow shifts, talon lean just out of sight, vanishing when you try to catch it fully. The midway games, once filled with flashing lights and ringing bells, seem to twitch. A row of basketball hoops rattles as though someone just took a shot, though the nets are torn away, and a milk bottle pyramid tips over on its own with a soft metallic crash that echoes far too long. You step past, but the prizes hanging above, stuffed animals decayed and eyeless, sway gently though there is no breeze, as if nodding in unison. Lights flicker. One by one, bulbs glow along the haunted house facade ahead, their dull yellow glow sputtering into existence with no power source. The painted monsters on its walls are faded, but their outlines seem to bulge forward as though pressing out of the wood. The sound of carnival music begins faintly, warped and wrong, like a record slowed almost to breaking, the notes distorted into something unrecognizable. The melody grows louder, coming from everywhere at once, yet when you look around no speakers remain. And then you see them. Figures in the distance, blurry at first, like smoke, standing near the Ferris wheel. They are motionless, yet unmistakably human in form. One raises a hand slowly, beckoning. When you blink, more have appeared, lining the paths, their bodies gray and faceless, heads tilting at unnatural angles. They do not move closer, but you realize with horror that the rides are pulling you toward them. The ground beneath your feet seems to slope, dragging you without your consent, until every step feels like being led rather than choosing. The fear isn't just being watched now, it's that the entire park itself is alive, and it wants you. By the time you reach the roller coaster, the laughter has returned. It circles you now, bouncing from track to track, a chorus of voices giggling with cruelty. The cars are frozen at the station, metal bars rusted, but the seats look disturbingly clean as though recently used. On the nearest car, a wet, fresh handprint gleams against the dust, smeared in a streak that drips toward the ground. Yuba, a Y. But the ride activates on its own, chains groaning as the first car lurches forward. It is empty, yet screams tear through the night as though dozens of riders are trapped within. Their cries are not of thrill but of agony, echoing off steel and stone. The figures you saw before are closer now, some standing right at the edge of the ride, their faceless heads turning toward you in unison. The bar on the empty coaster car slams down as though inviting you to take a seat, the metal echo loud enough to jolt your heart into your throat. Suddenly, every ride around you ignites with impossible laughter. Ferris wheel begins to spin, its rust screaming. Carousel horses twist their heads fully backward as the platform jerks into motion, and midway games reset with sharp cracks like bones breaking, lights flashing wildly. The laughter grows unbearable, layered with whispers that speak words you cannot fully understand, except one phrase that repeats, "Your turn, your turn, your turn." You turn to flee, but every path bends impossibly, folding back into itself, forcing you deeper into the maze of rides. The shadows of the figures elongate, crawling across the ground, reaching for your ankles like claws. And above it all, the music reaches a frenzy. Carnival bells clanging as though celebrating your capture, welcoming you into the eternal crowd of the forgotten. The final truth strikes when the lights suddenly snap off, plunging everything into silence. For a moment you think it's over, that maybe the nightmare has ended, but then you realize you're not standing anymore, you're seated. The bar is locked across your chest, the cold metal biting into your skin. Your hands grip the rusted safety rail, but it will not budge. Around you, the roller coaster track stretches into the black, rising higher and higher, disappearing into shadow. The car lurches forward. Slowly, it climbs. Every creak of the chain lift sounds like a scream dragged from the earth. You try to shout, but no voice escapes, only the echo of countless others screaming in unison around you. Invisible passengers riding with you. You turn your head, and for the first time you see their faces. Hollow-eyed, jaws hanging open in silent wails, skin gray and stretched too tight. They are the ones who came before, trapped forever, condemned to ride again and again until their identities bled into nothing. And now you are one of them. At the top of the climb, the car pauses. The silence is unbearable. You feel the drop waiting below, a void that promises no end, and in that heartbeat you understand. This park was never abandoned. It is a feeding ground, a machine powered, not by electricity, but by fear, by lives, by the souls of everyone who ever dared to step through its gates. The descent begins. Your stomach twists as the car plunges forward, wind ripping against your face, screams swallowed by the blackness ahead. The ride never ends. The drop never stops. The laughter never fades. And somewhere far behind, the gate to the park remains open, waiting for the next curious soul to step inside abandoned theme park. Forgotten. Fearful rides. If you've made it this far, perhaps you already hear the laughter too. And if you're not afraid yet, then go ahead. Watch the next tale I've prepared for you. Click only if you're willing to see something worse than this. A place where even the forgotten would never dare to wander. But don't say you weren't warned.